Hey, it's Barb and Nick, and I just had a couple thoughts this week as we were all going through this week, and everything is so unusual in the world and a bit unsettling. I want to share with you a couple of concepts that are central to personal performance training. Number one, it's the idea that in order to be our best, like on our horse when we're riding, or make good decisions, consider options, that we need to get into, if we're not already, a state of positive emotion, because that's what allows us to ride well. That's what allows us to see options. And then the other thing that I want to share with you is that we have the power to respond to how we feel about thoughts that come up within ourselves or events around us. Like, we're not the victim of that. And so, given these two very, very powerful ideas, I think what happens in our riding when we feel nervous, or we go to a show, or we're not sure what to do, or when things come up on the news, or things are so different and they affect us, our health potentially, or our finances, is that we feel vulnerable. And it's not the idea that we don't want to feel vulnerable, because actually feeling vulnerable obviously is a part of our lives, and it gives us the opportunity to grow and to be courageous. So I wanted to share with you a very simple 3-part process that I hope will help you in your riding, and I hope will help you every day. And the first is that we become very aware of how we're feeling. So for example, I'm going to use a horse example, and I'm going to use a real life example. For example, with our horses, if we come to the barn and we get ready to get on, we take a breath and we leave everything behind, and we become centered in the moment. And if we're not feeling very centered, we notice it. And then we take a moment, and just in that self-awareness, we know that we have a choice. In everyday life, we also become very aware of how we're feeling. For example, this week, I had some weird thoughts and fears that came up that I don't know where they came from, but it was like, whoo. And luckily, because I practice, and by the way, all of this is a practice, it's not something that you have and you forever have. It's kind of a way of being, a way of interacting and bringing out our best. I just noticed how I was feeling. And that self-awareness allowed me, and that's a very important first step, allowed me to choose a state of calmness. And as I have the tools, as you have the tools to get into a state of calmness, whether it's on a horse or to just step back in everyday life and just say, hey, I'm going to take a breath. For our horses, it would be like to take a breath, talk to ourselves, like stay cool, focus on your plan, breathe. This week, what I did is I would feel kind of an uneasiness. And then in order to get to a state of calmness, I'll kind of go over, what do I think? Maybe some favorite quotes, maybe a scripture, just something to get me back grounded again. And then the third piece is that from that place of awareness and calmness, then we can make a choice about our next steps. When we're riding, it might be that we feel ourselves like be quick, just in the middle of our ride. Stay here, my boy. In the middle of our ride, and we feel it, and we just kind of go, stay cool. Okay, lead chain's coming up. Breathe wherever in the circle, get your horse set up. In everyday life, it might be, does that fear, is that something that I need to action? or is it just something I need to allow kind of to pass through me and have no action? So it's a very, very simple 3-step process. Number 1, you become very aware of how you're feeling, and you know that you can respond. Bye, Nick. That you can respond and choose your thoughts and emotions. The second is that you choose to go to a place of calmness first, and then from there, you make your choices. So I hope that this helps you. I'm grateful to Nick. Thank you, Nick. And navigate these times. And I know that every time we do this simple process and we find solutions and we call up courage, that we're all getting stronger. Let me know what you think about these 3 steps, and I hope that you have a good week. Bye, Nick.